Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Steve Chiama. I'm the franchise owner for Action Coach here in Fairfax, Virginia, and I'm your host today of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have the pleasure to introduce Timmy Brumbaugh, the co-founder of ZenJoy, as my guest. And today we're going to talk about Timmy's business, his journey into business leadership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. So if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when a new show like this drops. So Timmy, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today. And if you would, please give us a little bit of background about who you are and tell us a little bit about the business.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, by the way, Stephen. I'm 28. I'm an entrepreneur. Me and my friends have been entrepreneurial for a long time. The way I'll describe our journey was it was never, you know, at one point we had the best idea that was going to take everything over, and that's where we were going to focus our life. It was more so over time we learned and we, improved upon what we were doing, and then eventually we got to the point where we're at ZenJoy now. So originally ZenJoy was a CBD drink. And when we took the CBD out, that's when things really opened up for us. Before then, we had a CBD company. We had some influencer pages in the space. We grew that to about, $1 million in 3 years. And once we saw kind of where the trend was going for that, we wanted to find something that was a little bit more sustainable. And that's when
Mhm.
we moved into, the adaption space with the ashwagandha we use, L-theanine, and lemon balm. So we kind of went from having an idea, having a passion, really wanting to figure out how to create our own business to
Mhm.
innovating over time to eventually where we got to where we're at now with Enjoy.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's start a little bit. I want to come back to some of the things you just said, but let's start a little bit about the context here. How's the business structured? Have you guys just built it on your own funding, or have you used outside financial partners or investors?
Yeah, so we bootstrapped a lot of it. It's
Hmm.
really hard building a beverage business with your own money, unless if you have a
Hmm.
lot of money and you're willing to invest a lot of money yourself. We are not necessarily in that position. We've
Hmm.
raised some money. We've raised about 500K, friends and family, and then we
Hmm.
brought on two strategic partners, uh, Gamer Packaging, who's our can manufacturer, and then First Run, which
Hmm.
is accelerator here in the DC area. So that's
Hmm.
kind of how we raised our money. It's me and my two co-founders, so we
Hmm.
all own it, 33, 33, 33 right down the middle. And
Hmm.
once we raise our Series A, then we'll distribute shares of everything else. So
Awesome, awesome. Now, when you start up a business, there's a whole lot of seats that have to be used, hats that have to be worn. There's marketing, there's sales, there's product development, there's product manufacturing, there's delivery, there's distribution, there's bookkeeping, there's HR, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Which are the hats you wear now?
I'm primarily sales.
Hmm.
I run the sales team. I run a lot of our key accounts, new
Hmm.
account development,
Hmm.
distribution partners. We actually do our own distribution as well. So we have our own drivers delivering to roughly 300 stores in the area,
Hmm.
Zenjoy, and other local brands.
Hmm.
And, I manage that team and, the operations behind that. So.
Very good, very good. Are you working to get yourself out of those responsibilities?
I think it's hard to necessarily pull yourself out completely.
Hmm.
Um, the way that I look at it is, especially as I look to the future as me being a leader within the company, um, getting people who are like-minded, who are also leaders, that I can give autonomy to run projects and regions of the country for us. Um,
Hmm.
as much as I like to think that I can, do everything and, run everything and be in a million places at once, I can't. And, for a beverage company like ourselves,
Hmm.
there's a lot of stores, a lot of customers, a lot of outlets, a lot of moving pieces at all times. And
Hmm.
that's something that I won't just be able to handle myself, and me and my co-founders won't be able to handle ourselves. So I think uh, bringing in people who can run regional partnerships and regional operations for sales is going to be a big thing for us, and then
Mm-hmm.
moving past that to where I'm focused more on some of the higher level key account management and relationships, and uh, kind of managing them to make sure that we're hitting the initiatives we have or any of that.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. Now, who is your typical customer? Who do you serve best? And I think you're really the answer in this really is in two places. There's the end consumer, and there's how to get to the end consumer.
Right. Um, it's interesting because the people that I interact with the most, when I first
Mhm,
started off, it was a lot of end consumer facing customers. We did a lot of
mhm,
events, a lot of pop-ups, a lot of tablings, can
mhm,
in hand, sample, try it
mhm,
out. This is what Zenjoy is. This is what it does. Now
mhm,
a lot of it is more so working with these, grocery chains, these convenience chains, uh,
mhm,
different operators in, the vending channel and, in the B&I space. So that's kind of where I would say our customer base has gone to, is more of the people that are serving the consumers. But I would say
mhm,
our end game consumer is really anyone who's stressed. It's a big problem. There's a lot of
mhm,
people who are stressed on a daily basis, and there's few solutions that really address it. When we came into the space, we saw that there was, again, a massive problem for stress relief, and there was a lot of different functional beverages that solved a daily issue. I think that's one of
mhm,
the reasons why energy drinks got so big,
mhm,
was because it's so easy for you to say, "Hey, I'm feeling tired. I need a boost. Let me drink this energy drink, get a boost, feel less tired. Kind of augment my day. Solve a problem for myself."
mhm,
See that with hydration is with something that you want to taste good. Even gut health is a little bit of a longer term. It's not necessarily like right now I'm going to drink this and my stomach's going to feel better, but over time I'm going to have a healthier stomach. It's solving a problem for someone. So when we looked in the space and we said, well, because we started during COVID, and COVID was a really stressful time, and we looked on the shelves and we are like, why isn't there anything for this? Why isn't there anything addressing this? um,
mhm,
and we wanted to make something that people really liked for it.
mhm,
So,
mhm,
our target demographic, uh, I would say, probably leans into more millennial, well-educated people who are looking
mhm,
at, products that are healthier.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, stress is such a universal problem that you'll see
mhm,
it from anywhere from a Whole Food shopper to a Food Lion shopper to a
mhm,
Walmart shopper to a Costco shopper. So,
mhm,
pretty much anyone who's a human feels
mhm.
stressed probably are looking for ways to relax and de-stress. So
Awesome, awesome. It sounds like when you were first starting up that you didn't see terribly much competition in this specific space. Do you find yourself bumping into competitors at this point yet?
yes, it's a new category and it's emerging.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot of white space on the shelf,
Mm-hmm.
and the adaptogenic category is going to be one of the next big trends, in my opinion. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you can kind of see that from some of the data that's coming out, the spins data. A lot of what the new trends are is going to be heavily around that. You have protein, you have gut health too as well, and then energy,
Mm-hmm.
unstoppable. But when we started off, there was one major brand that we really looked at, which was Recess. They were also a
Mm-hmm.
CBD drink. They moved into their mood line and they moved away from, CBD into more magnesium and, other
Mm-hmm.
adaptogens like that. Now you have a ton of different competitors entering the space. You have Junie, you have Trip, you have Hio.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are kind of going in a little bit of different directions. A lot of them aren't necessarily using, organic cane sugar. They're
Mm-hmm.
really going after more of that premium consumer, looking for the healthier options using,
Mm-hmm.
sugar alternatives. For
Mm-hmm.
us, we really wanted to be something that was tasty that the everyday person could have, and we wanted to be very transparent with our messaging around it. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
the brands in our space are going into the mocktail occasions where
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a party, I don't want to drink alcohol, I still want to unwind and relax, I still want a cool can in my hand, I still want to
Mm-hmm.
be social.
Mm-hmm.
I'll drink this. For us, we
Mm-hmm.
see it as a lot larger of a problem, almost similar to energy again, where
Mm-hmm.
I'm going out throughout my day. Maybe I'm a corporate professional. I'm running late to work. I'm feeling a little bit
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed. I'll drink this.
Mm-hmm.
I'll de-stress. I'll refocus. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where we kind of look at it, where we're addressing a little bit of a larger audience kind of with our messaging right now. And I think that that's going to be a trend that's going to happen over time. People are going to move away from just being, a mocktail or mood boosting elixir or social tonic into a
Mm-hmm.
wider range of, I'm stressed. This is going to solve stress. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
drink is really for.
Very good. Very good. Um, what is one thing you wish more people knew about your business at this point?
We're still really small. I mean, I think that's one of the big things, uh, sometimes you see a beverage, especially in this area, we're in a lot of stores and people see it all over the place and they think that we're doing, crazy volume and we're, already at the point where we want to be. And we're very far from that. I still live at home, with
Mm-hmm.
my mom right now. We're
Mm-hmm.
still growing. We're still hustling every day. We're grinding. We haven't necessarily hit the tipping point that we want to yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard, like people that enter
Mm-hmm.
the CPG space,
Mm-hmm.
especially, food and beverage founders, it's very competitive. It's expensive to get started, and it's a very full contact industry. You have to be in the field. You have to know what's going on. You
Yeah.
have to be checking the stores yourself. You have to be doing the things that you almost think don't matter. Those are the things that probably matter the most. So
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, hey, I own this business. I don't need to go out to the grocery store and check to make sure that they have it stocked. Well, you'll be
Really?
surprised when you're looking at your sales and you're like, wait, why isn't this store doing well? It's because it's not set up. It's not on the
Yeah.
spot. You have to do those extra things to really make consumers buy in. So I would just say if you're looking to enter this space, just be ready to work really hard and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be ready to realize you don't necessarily know what's going on and be ready to get dirty where you're going in every day and you're working early mornings, late nights.
Yeah.
And be ready to pay some money because it's an expensive industry. It's
Yeah.
not there's a reason why there's a couple brands that really dominate the space. It's because it's pretty expensive to enter. So
Well, the food industry is an expensive industry and all the way around in a lot of ways. Yeah. No
yeah.
doubt about it. What was it that made you guys, what was the trigger that made you guys pick this particular industry to go into when you started your business?
I think we're just crazy, honestly. I think that might be part of it.
Yeah. That could be
It's
said about a lot of industries.
I mean, like sometimes you're young and you're just trying to figure it out. And I think that that was one of the things where we were looking at, again, we were in the CBD space and we were
Hmm.
thinking to ourselves, how do we make CBD a more universal thing for people to try? The
Hmm.
answer to that question was everybody drinks a beverage. We start off as a water, then into teas, then into different, formats past that. So again,
Okay.
I think the thing that happened was we were kind of looking to make a universal product for something that was more of a niche ingredient. And
Hmm.
then over time, we, pivoted into the point where we are now, where we have the adaptogenic blend.
Okay, so you guys didn't start with a product that you wanted to sell. You started with a concept and a problem you wanted to solve.
100%.
Hmm.
100%.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
very interesting.
that was the big thing I think that actually really I would say for like a lot of different entrepreneurs, a lot of the time, the first idea, the first product is not going to necessarily be the thing that's really going to win for you. It might not necessarily be the right idea. It might be
Hmm.
the worst idea ever. But
Mm.
the nice thing is you can learn what doesn't work, and then you
Hmm.
can also learn what does work, and then you can,
Hmm.
just make the adjustments. So I think
Hmm.
that's something that we did for CBD. It was a very heavily red taped industry. Most of the grocery stores and the partners that we had now probably wouldn't have been working with us if we continued to work with CBD. So when we moved out and we said, hey, these are ingredients that the FDA approves that are proven to do the things that we're trying to get from the CBD and are widely
Hmm.
accepted, then that's when things really opened up for us. So a lot of the
That's
times,
a
it's
piece
not
of the game,
necessarily,
isn't it?
yeah, 100%.
It isn't about the product, it's about the problem.
Exactly.
Hmm. Good, good, good. What would you say, just thinking back through this journey, what would you say has been a most memorable hurdle you guys have had to overcome as you've gone down this path?
Um, Well, I'll give you a couple examples.
Hmm.
Before we started ZenJoy,
Hmm.
going back to Zen Hemp Infusions, the company actually failed completely.
Hmm.
we had a beverage manufacturer that I'm not going to necessarily name,
Mm-hmm.
but was based in Baltimore that
Mm-hmm.
completely botched a production run for us that we, invested a lot of money into, and it caused us to close our old business. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a really hard moment. That was one of those times where you kind of look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I invested all this time to, make this work, and everything failed in front of me. And you almost have to do a little bit of soul searching and reevaluating if you really want to make the decision to continue. And we did. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
really glad we did, because now we're in a position where I feel we're really making some headway.
Mm-hmm.
And, looking back, I would never make a different decision. I would say there was another big opportunity, and this was something that I'd almost call like the boot camp of our career when we first got approved for Giant Foods. And Giant
Mm-hmm.
Foods, here in Maryland is the largest grocery store, has the most stores,
Mm-hmm.
very dense in this region. So that was the exact partner we were looking for. That was our
Mm-hmm.
first major grocery partner,
Mm-hmm.
and we were ecstatic. We made the decision instead of going through the traditional means. Usually it's UNFI or some
Mm-hmm.
other distribution company that's bringing your product to the stores. We decided to buy a truck ourselves and deliver ourselves. So we had those early mornings where we were waking up every morning at 4 a.m., driving all day long to different stores, bringing in product, meeting all the managers, learning
Mm-hmm.
how, a grocery store really operates. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the most enlightening things for us because, for one, when it comes to grocery store ops, I feel like we have a lot better of an understanding than most founders entering the space. It gives us a little bit of a leg up. It gives us the ability to work our relationships and do things that can put you in a winning position. I would say the second thing that it really helped with was just figuring out that we just got to work all day long for it. This was the moment where we just really dove into it when every morning I'm waking up at 4 a.m. Hadn't done that before, hopping in a truck, driving for, 12, sometimes even 16-hour long days, going to different stores, delivering the product, meeting the grocery stores, solving problems at the store level. And, I think that that was something that really helped us to um, again, just commit fully. I think that the thing that happened after that that really changed a lot was us being able to have people that do that for us now. So we don't necessarily have to be in the field all day, driving around. We can work on some of those higher level opportunities that we have. But either way, I think that those decisions really shaped where we're at now. And I'm really
Good.
glad we made those decisions. And, it was really hard at the time, but once we got past that, looking back, I know we made the right one. So
So when you talk about getting your hands dirty, you have a whole real context for that.
I'll tell you a story. I walked into a store and, sometimes, in a grocery store, things fall over, things break. So there was a spill on the ground and, you have like a hand truck carrying a lot of cases. It gets pretty heavy. I'm bringing in through the back door. There's like some liquid on the ground. They have a wet floor sign. And, I'm just like, okay, no big deal. And I slip and I fall and I cover myself completely in, whatever it was on the ground there.
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I gotta go home. I need to change. I'm like, this looks really weird. Like, I like all over my pants is this like brown liquid. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
this is gross.
Yeah.
So that's literally as much as it gets for getting dirty. You're
Gets
working in the
personal, doesn't
store. Yeah.
it?
Working in the store, you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're gonna fall over, and then
Hmm.
something we learned after that was have an extra set of pants with you in case you do get stuff on you because
Yeah, and the
you
other is go
want to
around
look
the wet
smart.
spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good, good, good. Now this is a perfect opening to where do you see yourself? Where do you guys see yourselves going over the next 5 or 10 years? What's the future look like?
So we actually are kind of in an interesting point right now where we almost have two businesses. One
Mm-hmm.
is the distribution business that we're running right
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
where we are distributing Zenjoy to a lot of stores. and we're
Mm-hmm.
starting to bring in a lot of other local brands into some
Mm-hmm.
local stores here. And now we're having the opportunity where larger brands are actually approaching us, and we might bring them into some of these stores regionally. So we're building the distribution company. And, the way that we look at that is we really want to be the regional DSD partner that people
Mm-hmm.
can work with, where you're getting that extra service. If you're
Mm-hmm.
executing a program, we can do that for you. If you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at setting up these end caps, we can do that for you. If you're just looking at getting some extra love when you're at the store, and,
Mm-hmm.
shelf space that you have is doing well, but
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for a little bit of extra visibility, we can execute on those things for you. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
benefits to the DSD system, and that's one of the opportunities that we really want to grow to be a very stable business. In my mind's eye, I see us being one of the largest in the Mid Atlantic because there's not many. You have the beer distributors, you have Canada Dry, and then you have Unify. And that's pretty much where it is right now. For those middle tier companies that are looking at, those larger organizations that you have to work with that are a lot more picky and usually have larger contracts associated with them, um, you don't really have other options. So we're trying to be that
Mm-hmm.
option. Um, as far as Zenjoy, we want to build the stress relief category. We want to have it where you walk into a store and you see all the energy drink stock there. You can see the stress relief section next to it where you have those stress relief drinks.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be dense, where you're going into your grocery store and your convenience store, you're going into your corporate office and your vending machine, where anytime throughout the day you're feeling stressed, you can get a Zenjoy and de-stress. So right now we're at the point where we're multi-regional. um,
Mm-hmm.
by in 3 years we'll definitely be national, and that's the goal
Okay.
for us.
Good.
I think if we talk 10 years, I mean, more than likely, if we really make it to that point and we do the things that we think we'll do,
Mm-hmm.
likely there'll be a acquisition from, hopefully a strategic or maybe some firm of some sort. But
Mm-hmm.
that's really what we're trying to do. We want to ride the skate ramp, grow the business,
Mm-hmm.
double every year, have a
Mm-hmm.
sustained growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they say slow and steady wins the race, and I think that that's the truth because, again, the beverage industry is an expensive industry to play in.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to grow too fast, you're going to extend yourself too wide, and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to run out of funding, and you might not necessarily provide the support that
Mm-hmm.
your partners need to really believe in you as a partner yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why we like that skate ramp model, because if we did it here, we double, we'll be able to really continue to execute the way that we know we are. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Very good. Very good. What do you see as the main challenges getting there?
Um, Well, for one, labor is obviously a challenge. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very labor intensive industry. You need people that you can trust,
Mm-hmm.
that can represent your brand well, that can be leaders within your company and your
Mm-hmm.
community to really,
Mm-hmm.
push forward, um, what we're trying to do. I
Mm-hmm.
think another big thing is, we're getting to the point now where we're getting into a lot of stores, we're getting a lot of distribution. The next question is, do people really know about it? If you go down the street right now, if you think of most of the grocery stores in the area, we're in a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask the everyday person, have you heard of Zenjoy? Like, what do you think of Zenjoy? Most people will have no idea what you're talking about. So a lot of it is education, marketing, getting people to really buy into the brand. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the hurdles that we're really going to have to accomplish here soon. Whether that's, some sort of celebrity that really encapsulates that stress relief, relaxation, that kind of ethos, or
Mm-hmm.
just finding those more micro influencers who create a UGC and really help to get people and their friends to buy in. There's lots of ways to go about it, but at the end of the day, really, if you have a beverage brand in a lot of stores and people don't know about it, they're not going to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So education, marketing is going to be the next big thing. Um, and then, really finally past that is just figuring out, the people that we want to have on our team. And this is almost going back to the first one, that can start doing a lot of this higher level stuff, finding people that are smarter than us, that are,
Mm-hmm.
experts in the space that can
Mm-hmm.
really guide us as we're going through the next, 5 to 10 year journey, like we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about. Because it's only going to get harder. And,
It's not going to get easier, that's for sure.
it's not going to get easier. It might get
Hmm.
easier in the sense where it's like, okay, the business is working now. But as
Hmm.
far as growth might get harder because now there's real competition. People are actually looking at you and, realizing that Zenjoy is, a player. And, at that point, maybe you're bidding more or, maybe they're poaching some of your talent. I don't know. I can go through like all the different things that could happen.
All of the above.
All the above. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
really for us, it's just, finding people that really believe in what we're doing,
Hmm.
that can help to guide us and mentor us, and
Hmm.
leaders within the organization to help do that for other people that are going to be
Good.
working with us.
Yep.
And then again, marketing the product, obviously getting our costs down and, those usual business fundamentals, but those things come with volume. And we're
Hmm.
starting to hit the point where, we're in a lot of stores, we're kind of hitting those price
Hmm.
breaks now. And really, if we're able to get a lot more people to buy into the product in the place that we are, we can hit those thresholds in the area that we are now. So that's
Fantastic.
that's where I think it's almost like the solution is a good offense. The best defense is a strong offense. That's true in
Yes.
beverage. You sell a lot
Hmm.
of product, you get your costs down, and the business becomes easier to manage. So,
There is an economy of scale.
yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, people miss that point, but it is a
Yep,
real concept. Yeah, that's good.
yep.
What are you looking for personally from this? You're not going down this journey just because.
You know, it's interesting because when I first started off, a lot of what got me into entrepreneurship was a couple different things. I had a sociology teacher who was actually, my co-founder and my very close friend, my best friend, soccer coach, who
Hmm.
sat us down, because, we were, the popular kids in school. We would party a lot, hang out, didn't really care. And he pretty much sat us down and told us to really start thinking about our future, put some
Hmm.
different books in front of us,
Good.
to
Yeah,
put us
good.
on the right path. And, I think for me, it was about self improvement for one, becoming a
Hmm.
better person, becoming a better person within my community, and becoming a leader. And really, I think number two is building a legacy. I think there's a rare opportunity, and I'm a very lucky person where I think we can be in the spot that we are now.
Hmm.
And I almost think that if I don't fully invest my time into it, I'm taking everything that I have for granted. And I really
Hmm.
want to, make the people who have believed in me up until now proud. And I want
Hmm.
to make sure that, the sacrifices that, they've made and that I've made, really, really pay off. So I think a lot of it is legacy. And I'm also a person, I like freedom. I want to
Hmm.
have the spot where I can get to a point in my life where I can make decisions and say, I want to do
Hmm.
this. And not to say that you can't do that because, we live in America and America's an amazing place where you can do those things. But there are different hurdles that sometimes make it harder. And I
Hmm.
want to put myself in a position where, I can do the things like Zenjoy isn't necessarily the, final rodeo for me. I think it's really the start. I don't necessarily know what the next rodeo is going to be, but I do know that if I really focus in on what I'm doing now, that'll
Hmm.
probably become clear to me soon. So,
Very good. Very good. Just kind of thinking back. That's an awesome answer, actually. Just kind of pivoting from that, thinking if you, what lessons have you learned in this? If you started your business today all over again, knowing what you know now, is there something you would do different?
it's hard to say. I think that the things that I would do different, um, are sometimes just where we invested our time and our money into that was not necessarily the crux of what we're trying to do. So
Hmm.
focus, I think, is a big thing. Um,
Ah.
now, I do think that a lot of the stuff that we did, we kind of followed our intuition and things worked. And,
Hmm.
I don't necessarily want to lose that aspect of, the
Hmm.
entrepreneurship journey. So
Hmm.
sometimes I look back where I'm like, I could have done this and that, like maybe instead of, us trying so hard and shooting out all these emails and calling people, maybe it'll just be easier where now I know I'm like, hey, well, I can just go to this event and I'll probably meet the person. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
there's places where like if I'm trying to bring on a customer, it's you can put yourself in positions where it's really easy to meet that customer. Uh,
Hmm.
so but again, I don't think I would want to change anything because I think the things that we've done have put us in position to learn to the point where we are now. I think we're going to have a lot more opportunities to learn as time goes on. And again, I think that really just the biggest thing would just be focus, not losing sight of what we're really trying to do. We're
Hmm.
a beverage company, and I think that as a beverage company, it's easy to get wrapped up into a lot of different things. There's a lot of people that reach out to me now where it's like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z for you, and we never really did that. So I don't necessarily see that as a pitfall in ourselves, but I could see a lot of other founders, looking at that where it's like, hey, I'm going to really go hard on the marketing right now, but you're not in any stores. So it's like, what are we really doing here? It's not really going to pay any ROI. You're not necessarily going to get people who can transact with you easily.
Yeah.
Then again, there's other people like in the position where we are now where it's like we're getting into a lot of stores. Now we really need to amp up the marketing. And part of the reason why is
Hmm.
now it's easy if someone in Maryland likes the brand, it's very easy for them to transact with it. At their local
Hmm.
cafe, at their local grocery store, at their local convenience store. It's very easy for them to buy into Zenjoy.
Hmm.
Sometimes when you go through this, I think that there was a lot of people who told us to go into some of these national retailers, and that was the way to go. And the problem is as a small company, it's hard to, push those marketing endeavors to where you're getting people, who aren't in Maryland and California to understand what Zenjoy is and to know what Zenjoy is. And if you are, it's really expensive. So I think that that's where again, I really like the idea of focus. I like the idea of regional growth, and I like the idea of not necessarily growing too quickly because at the end of the day, there's so much growth that can happen here. At the we're in a stage of of fast growth right now where we are opening up new regions, but that's partly because now we've hit the spot where, you know, there's only so much more saturation you can hit around here. So,
You've learned a bunch of lessons along the way.
yeah.
Hmm. This is good.
Yeah.
This is good. Sometimes the journey, the hard knocks and the bruises and the scars are what you needed to learn in order to get to the next level. So, it's hard to sit there and say I could have bypassed that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one. This is an easy lesson that's really easy to point out is the manufacturing partner that pretty much destroyed our product. 4 or 5 years back. Really taking the time to understand who your partners are, making sure that you're doing the extra stuff to understand what they're doing and see
Hmm.
what they're doing. Like we got sat in a conference room. The team we met with, we didn't realize this at the time, but all got scrapped. And so by the time they were producing, the people that were producing the product had never run a canned beverage before, and they were manufacturing it. So, that's one lesson I would say is, take the extra time to know your partners, especially people that you're, really relying on as heavily as a manufacturer. Um,
Hmm.
you know, and that'll go a long way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a part of the game. Yes, that
Yeah.
is. That's an important detail. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just know them, but know their incentives.
Yep. 100%.
Hmm. Hmm. Good. This has been awesome. You've shared some really important points here in this game. Um, but in the interest of time, let's start wrapping up with a
Okay.
few rapid fire questions here. What would you say has been your key to success so far?
I think it's a lot of the times showing up, and I think it's treating people with respect.
Hmm.
Even if you're not necessarily going to do business with people at the time right now, um, or if you're not necessarily happy with how things are going, you never necessarily want to burn a bridge. You don't want to,
Good
treat
way to put it.
people as you don't want to be, treated because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, the way I look at business is it's a people industry. You know,
Hmm.
when you're out here, a lot of what you're doing is working with people. So
Hmm.
it's really about learning how to navigate people. So I think that that's a big part of being successful in business is understanding, how to navigate people and, again, how to treat people the way that you want to be treated. The golden rule goes a long way.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's there for a reason. That didn't happen by magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's some things about old wives' tales, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let's pretend you and I were having coffee at the coffee shop, and somebody walked in talking to his friend about a business he was starting up. What's one piece of advice you would want to share with him?
You know, I think that for a lot of people who look at business, I think sometimes they take too much of a approach of trying to understand everything and not necessarily understanding that you're going to really learn when you start doing it. So
Mm,
sometimes if you're going into it with too much of a plan, that plan's probably going to change and
hmm.
you have to be ready to, make adjustments. If you're working through it in your own mind, you might be right, but a lot of times you're probably going to be wrong. The best
Hmm.
people to really work through it with are going to be the people that are buying your product and your customers. So as
Hmm.
soon as you can get in front of them, as soon as you can get their feedback and you can kind of, build some sort of communication there, I think you'll have a lot more success. So,
Yeah, yeah. That's a very customer feedback is very, very important. Yeah, fantastic. What's one book you're reading now or read recently that's having impact on how you guys are driving forward?
a book that I actually reread recently, and I love quoting this book, especially for anyone who's looking to get into entrepreneurship, is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I think that was the one of the
That's a classic. Yeah.
classic. That
Yeah.
was one of the books that, I read when I first started in entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
I like to read it every couple years because it kind of does put things in perspective. If you have
Hmm.
goals, you want to achieve them, there's a pretty simple way to, you know, pursue them. And a lot of it
Hmm.
is just how much do you really want to, do for it. And I really love going back to that book because the principles of it over time I see kind of in my journey where those principles have come true. And
Hmm.
I love that book. Would definitely recommend to anyone who's looking at entrepreneurship or just looking at self improvement or really trying to anyone who's focused who's trying to improve themselves. That's a great book for them.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, when you say it that way, when you describe Napoleon Hill's book that way, you remind me of a line in a movie I saw some years back that went something to the effect of for everything you want most, there's a price that must be paid.
yep, 100%, 100% it.
You've had a great journey.
Yeah, thank you.
What are you
Thank you.
most proud of in driving this?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of right now is how many people are starting to build their life around what we're doing. And I think that that's something that is really remarkable
Hmm.
because it's hard to visualize that before it really starts happening.
Hmm.
Um, the people who are invested into it, the people who really care about it, who
Yeah.
aren't necessarily like me and my two other co-founders,
Hmm.
but are people who are, learning about it and really believing in what we're doing and
Hmm.
um, really are putting their best foot forward or doing the things that we would
Hmm.
want to do. Um,
Hmm.
so I think that that's my proudest thing is people that really believe in what we're doing and are really supporting us. I think that that's something that isn't easy to do, and I think that that's something that when that really starts happening, it becomes a lot easier for what you're trying to do to work. So.
Very good. Very good. Kind of taking that same question, flipping it around the other side. If you had a magic wand and there was one thing in your business you could fix this afternoon, what would it be?
Um, One thing that I could fix in the business, that's a good question. I think the thing that I would want to fix. Uh, there's a lot of things that are going right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, I don't necessarily want to ever say that things are going wrong, but I think it's kind of back to, um, again, the thing that I would want to fix isn't necessarily a fix. I would just want to expand upon it. I just wish that
Mm-hmm.
we had someone that was, had a large platform or a large following that was really supporting us as Enjoy, because I
Okay.
think again that's the biggest thing that's going to help us get to the next
Mm-hmm.
level is the fact that uh, we just need to really get people to be aware of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's the thing that I would approve upon. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it necessarily needs to be fixed. I think that it's going in the right direction, but I do think that there's levels to it. Once we start hitting the point where we're getting millions of impressions every week, I think that the business is going to change a lot. So,
Very good. Very good. Most important question. How can people who want to know more connect with you?
well, a lot of easy ways. My email is tim@drinksenjoy.com.
Mm-hmm.
Drinksenjoy.com is our website. Drink Zenjoy on Instagram. Pretty much
Mm-hmm.
anything is Drink Zenjoy. So the easiest way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We actually work out of the Towson Armory, which is an open co-working space. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're ever out in the Towson area and just
Mm-hmm.
want to stop by and say hi if we're there, we'd be happy to talk with you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, easiest way, shoot me an email, reach out via the site, and happy to chat more.
Fantastic. Last question.
Okay.
What's most inspiring to you today?
Um, I think the thing that's most inspiring is, almost when you reflect and you look back on your life and where you were. And then, I don't think that we're necessarily the type of people to celebrate a lot, where we
Mm-hmm.
look and we're like, wow, we've really done something cool. And,
Mm-hmm.
the accomplishments, they're awesome, but, I don't think we take enough time to celebrate those things. I think the thing that's most inspiring is looking back where we had no idea what we were doing and we didn't have any sort of business. And through, our own endeavors, we were able to create something. I think
Mm-hmm.
the thought of, self improvement and,
Mm-hmm.
being able to grow and improve and adapt is really the thing that's most inspiring, that the person that you are today isn't necessarily the person that you're going to be tomorrow. And that can go like I think you've said multiple times, that can go both ways. You can be in a
Mm-hmm.
good spot now and your choices can lead you down a path that you might not necessarily like, but you can also flip it where if I make the right choices now, I can be the person that I want to be. And I think that that's the thing that really inspires me. So
Yeah, and taking that one more step, any bad choices that you make, you can always unmake.
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
You can
you can
always
always find another way.
redemption's a real thing. You know what I
It
mean? And
really is. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We can't let ourselves get caught up in the dumps because something didn't go the way we wanted it. Perfect.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. That you've shared some really good nuggets here of entrepreneurship insight. I think there's all very good. This journey is there's always hard work,
Yeah.
but that's an opportunity to learn how to do it better.
100%.
And you guys have been working really hard at making sure you're learning from what you're doing, and that's a fantastic part of the journey. That's awesome. So for everybody watching, I encourage you to go back and re-listen. Tim has shared some really good stuff. There's some really good insights in this conversation. So that's been great. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when conversations like this drop. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. A special thank you to Timmy for taking his time to share his story with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Really appreciate you, man.